Welcome to LouddMouth Radio Network. My name is Sonny. As a former professional athlete turned entrepreneur realtor and the producer of LouddMouth Radio Network, I look forward to bringing content to you that empowers, inspires, and entertains you. Tune in each week as we have unscripted and unfiltered talks from entrepreneurship, real estate, politics, entertainment, comedy, LGBTQ topics, day-to-day life, and everything in between. All shows available on demand 24/7 on your favorite podcast platforms. See you. Hey, pretty girl.
Hello.
Okay. Sorry, I got my hands all over the place. Welcome. Good afternoon. It's Sunday, June 2nd. And I have a very special guest. And I'm having a very special conversation. So now I can see you. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, good. I have a very special guest here. And I actually got to pull my phone again because I got my little notes. So I want to introduce my special guest and the special conversation today. So this is an intimate conversation, and we're having a discussion about unmasking narcissistic relationships. And my special guest is Jermanie Faith Jones, a mother to two boys, a middle child, a sister to an older brother and a younger brother, a budding entrepreneur who over the last year obtained her bartender's license in the state of Georgia after a long-term goal of over 15 years of working to get away from a life of sex trafficking and survivor prostitution from a young adult age. At one point, Faith was able to turn herself into an adult entertainment producer, but it didn't come with many moments of violence and huge levels of uncertainty and safety. After having her first son, in the midst of an unhealthy and toxic relationship, Faith struggled with caring for a young son with no family support of her own. This would eventually lead to a bad breakup and an angry ex that wasn't the boy's father, who would later decide to take her son and keep him in hiding for over 4 years until she was able to get him back from another woman that was also dealing with the same toxic connections to the same man who was in fact the father of her young son. Faith would come to know that her son had been less than 45 minutes away from her the entire time without support from law enforcement or public outcries. Faith would become a preferred alias name that better aligned with her life's journey. That in spite of battling 30 years of mistreatment and character assassination from her own mother, Jermanie would embrace the name Faith as a symbol of her own perseverance and attitude toward life, that God had not truly forgotten nor forsaken her. So I want to introduce to some and reintroduce to many, many, many others, Miss Jermanie Faith Jones, who is also, ironically, my bonus daughter. That has become one of the positive things I can say and now see from 10 years of toxicity of my ex-wife, who also happens to be her mother. Namaste and welcome, honey.
Hello.
So I had to give that whole dissertation. You just heard that opportunity. Which is why I said I'm introducing and reintroducing, because if you see me looking away, it's just because I'm doing my producer stuff as we're talking.
Okay.
And one of the things I think is so important here is that today, and I may interactively call you Faith, I may say Jermanie, but Jermanie, Dominique Jones, I'll take your whole name. Jermanie is your your birth name, and Faith is the God-given name. How about that?
Right.
Okay. So I wanted to say that I may interactively go back and forth about saying both your names, because I do actively use both those names with you. And that way I won't confuse anybody that's listening or watching. And I want to start off this conversation and say that this is not a necessarily easy conversation. It's not an easy topic. But I think one thing that's incredible is that this moment to me reflectively shows me that there is a possibility of healing, of grace, forgiveness, acknowledgement of wrongdoing.
Right.
a moment of self-accountability. And I just kind of wanted to say that to you publicly. And I'm nervous. So if you see me kind of feeling jittery, this is not an easy moment. It's a well-needed moment, but it's not an easy moment because
Right.
we are examples of what healing can become.
Right.
Because our interaction and our relationship has always not been this.
At all.
And I'm saying all of these things first, and then I'm gonna let you have the floor because I wanted to publicly acknowledge the factor that, for over the last 10 years, now 12 plus, right? You were introduced to me in a way in which was not the completeness of who you are.
Right.
And because of that misconstrued introduction, we've had a volatile interaction and relationship, right?
Right.
And so I want to, I've already expressed so much and gave an introduction of you, and I want to allow you to be able to speak beyond me saying those things. But I wanted to establish the floor first and just say
Right.
thank you for, being this transparent in this moment.
Well, thank you.
You are so welcome and so deserving. And as this conversation gets deeper, people will understand why. But what would you like to start at first?
It's so much. You already gave
I
the
know.
gist of a lot of things. Yeah, like you were saying, at 18, I ended up finding myself being homeless out in Atlanta streets for like 6 months. After my uncle kicked me out, I ended up doing hair on the streets just to survive and sleeping at people's houses and, you know, giving up my body just to do those things to survive. And I met a singing group on tour for doing hair. I went to Indiana and was at a Black Expo. This is probably like around 2005, something like that. I ended up going out there meeting a singing group from Miami, and one of the guys happened to be a pimp, and he was a very great friend of mine. I didn't judge him for his things, but I was just like, I grew up in the church. I don't want to do, those type of things, but I don't have a problem doing your hair. You're cool. You know what I mean? We talked over a while. And then once things started to get a lot more heavy for me in my life in Georgia, as we returned, a mutual friend of ours who was also a client that I used to do their hair, ended up giving them a phone call and telling them, she's in a rough place. All to know now that I'm older that I was in a situation where I was with a madam, and which is a female pimp. And
Right.
never knew that until I was older and realized about the whole game pretty much. So, once he gave him a phone call, I was able to, get a new ID, get on the bus, and I became a dancer as soon as I got off the bus. So, I had my shoes, my clothes, I was ready to go. I worked that same day, and from then on I was
You were introduced into stripping pretty much.
right. Stripping, prostitution, all of that. At 18. So life kind of went a little bit faster than I expected. Um, and then, I couldn't really rely on my mother at that time because, I was in cosmetology school. This was not the life that I was supposed to be living. I was doing pretty good until, my mom decided to chase whatever dream she decided to chase in New York and left me with my 14-year-old brother. So me graduating at 16 and coming from Virginia to Atlanta and, being with my mom and just being excited to be back with my brother and my mother, for her to leave for months at a time and left us with nothing. So that ended up having to be a struggle when immediately when I came to Georgia after high school. So I immediately had to be a sister, a mom, and a student all at the same time. So life was heavy
Hyphen, right. And you
already.
16?
Yeah, I went to military school
Oh
in
wow. In Virginia.
yeah.
So you said, so were you weren't always with your dad?
No, I was with my mom.
For
I
how long?
lived in Yeah, I lived with my mom from birth till about 12 and a half.
How was that for you?
You said what?
How was that for you? Just, those first 12 years. How were they for you?
Um, Amazing and horrible all at the same time. Um,
And what does
we
that
had with my family, we had some adventurous times, you know what I mean? My mom was always a person like, let's get up and go, let's, you know what I mean? We would dress up in wedding gowns just to go to Ryan's, like a Golden Corral here in Georgia. And
everybody used to mess up
it was
Ryan.
just an exciting, as a kid, it was exciting to do different things, you know what I mean? Like spontaneous things, but it also never gave us stability because we were always moving from school to school. I never stayed in one school. You know what I mean? I went to maybe 5 or 6 different schools by the time I was 12, you know what I mean? And then
And why were you not? So let me say this, Germany Faith, either one. If at any moment I ask you something that you want me to hold or just stop or just tell me, give me a minute. That's gonna be our cue. Just give me
right,
a if you need to not answer or if you need that real second for a moment, that's fine. And
right,
if something that we get into is too much or whatever, you just tell me.
right, right,
So because I know you to a degree, and I've had to come to get to know you for myself and not
right,
based upon what I was told. So
right.
that's kind of why I'm asking those questions. So up until the age of 12, because this is the funny part, I inherited you in the marriage, but we didn't have this prior to
Right.
all of the time periods. So this
Right.
is new for me. So up until the age of 12, moving place to place and place to place, why was that kind of happening for you like that?
Well, number one, my mom was in a very abusive relationship. She was married to a man that beat her and also beat us, and she wasn't really, well, from my recollection, she wasn't aware of, I mean, the abuse that was going on toward her children. Um, but it just was, I don't really know. I mean, I think it was kind of an impulse type of move. It was like it was time to go. When that time was up, it was time to go, or it was another job. You know what I mean?
Because I
It,
remember, so this is the first marriage you were speaking of.
yeah, yeah,
And I remember her telling me that she met her first husband and got married in a week.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So,
Um, and that's who I knew to be my father, because of course she was pregnant with me. And then when I was born, that's who I knew as my father. I never knew my real father until probably, or never knew that was my father, until I was probably about 12. Um,
are you for
yeah,
real?
I didn't, I I had pictures with him. I didn't know that was my dad. I always thought he was my uncle.
Oh, wow.
And so my little brother's dad was the
Was
person
he,
that
you
I
thought that you were your
considered
father?
was my father.
Wow.
So, all of me and my brothers and my siblings, we all have different fathers. So, you know what I mean? Mine was a prom night, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, it was a type of relationship, probably like my brothers had a relationship, she had a relationship with them. Me, I kind of, adapted to trying to be, I was more felt like I was a daddy's girl, and you know what I mean? And he had his own issues, whatever the case may be, but it was,
How
very
about your birth
physical.
father? Oh, you
Well,
talking
I
about,
don't know. I didn't
no,
know my birth
your
father, but my
adopted father.
stepfather, right?
Yes,
My
stepfather. Okay,
adopted
okay.
father.
I'm
And
sorry. Okay. Okay.
he had his issues. I don't know what that was. I mean, he really, like, I know it was a lot of insecurities as well, because I mean, he wasn't, able to read as well, and you know what I mean, and certain things he wasn't able to do. So, I guess that kind of, you know, turned
Insecurity.
a different way, and he directed that anger toward, us as kids, and it was quite horrible. I mean, we ended up having to leave my mom for a little while, went to a foster home, and you know what I mean?
So
My
even
mom.
in the foster home, and the funny part is that I think for me, Faith, in this conversation, like I'm interrupting because I was told something differently. I was led to think something and told something differently. In the foster home moment, I was also told that was a matter of like some days, maybe. In reality, how long were you in foster care?
Was in there for maybe a few months,
Okay.
some months, yeah, like a few months. Because I mean, of course, we had to go back to the judge. I mean, the judge wasn't letting us go when a man has thrown my brother, my oldest brother, who broke his back. You know what I mean? My oldest brother fell from an 18-story building and broke his whole entire back and had to learn how to walk again. And so,
Wait a minute, he failed?
yeah, we were on a field trip. It was on the news in North Carolina.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
so, for him to accomplish so much and be in the army now is amazing. But, you know what I mean? My oldest brother was really blamed for a lot of things. And that was in my own doing too. But as far as the foster home, I'm the reason why we went to foster care, because I'm the one who told.
Ooh, we got some things in common, honey. Go ahead.
And no one knew that I was the person that told, because I was tired of getting beat on. I was tired of losing consciousness. I was tired of my mom's arm getting broken, her hair getting shaved off. And I was tired of, you know what I mean, like us just struggling sometimes. You know what I mean? I mean, we weren't living like really bad, but when it got bad, it got bad. You know what I mean? It was nothing there but to, you know what I mean, try to make it out of the mud. My mom worked as hard as she could, and I admired her. That was like my number one fan.
at the time when
And
you were like
and
how 10, 12, something like
I
that?
was like third grade.
Oh,
Third grade.
so you were like 9, 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So then
Yeah.
after you came out of foster care, and then you say you end up taking care of your brother.
Yeah.
And how did you end up taking care of your brother? Your young.
Well, after I left Georgia, 12, I went with my dad. My dad ended up kind of taking me from my mom on a visit.
Okay. Okay.
And so he never told her, you know what I mean, he was bringing me back. Nothing. There was no communication. So my dad basically kind of kidnapped me from my mom and was like, you're gonna live with us and be safe, and you know what I mean, things like that. So I basically I left and I lived with my dad for about maybe 5, 6 years. No, 6 years, six going on 7 years. And then once I graduated, I moved. I called my mom and she had booked the ticket for me to come back without my parents knowing. And so my parents had to pick me up from military school and drop me off, and I went back, came back to Atlanta. But when I got back to Atlanta, everything was okay. I went to Empire Beauty School. My mom signed me up for financial aid, get to beauty school. We were living in Decatur, nice townhouse, things were okay. I was, starting to try to find little jobs here and there, whatever. But,
And the
you
dad
know,
that you thought you was your dad, was he still in the picture then?
no, he had been gone.
Okay.
He had left before well, let me see. Before I left and went with my dad, my mom ended up getting divorced with my stepfather. And I remember us going to the grocery store. And my mom was we were into a lot of different cultures, you know what I'm saying? Like African culture. So we love to wear different, the headdresses and the outfits, dashikis and stuff like that. So she had an outfit, from Nigeria. She had an outfit on. And I guess one of the people that worked there, he was from Nigeria. And I guess, my mom became smitten with him. And probably within a week of her being divorced, she got married
to the new guy.
Yeah, and I remember me coming to her with tears in my eyes, and I said, "Mommy, please, please don't marry him." I said, "He's gonna do the same thing that Marvin did to you." You know what I mean? Oh,
No.
I'm so sorry. That that her
Marvin,
husband had did to her. But so of course I'm a child, so I had to stay in a child's place as I was told, and she was grown.
Right.
So since she
now
was
you
grown,
have so now you got another week-old dad.
right.
Okay.
Right. And
okay.
so he was cool until he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And his family was off the chain. I mean, they were cool. I mean, I love the culture. We learned a lot. You know what I mean? But he was a con artist. And kind of made her into a different person. You know what I mean? It was already bad enough from the first marriage, and then you go into another crazy situation where another person is, you know what I mean? So
but the common denominator situation becomes
right. So I think they were together for about maybe 3 years or so. And she went through a lot with him, and it came to a point where when I would come, around his family and stuff, his brothers were a little bit more too nice to me. And I would mention that sometimes, you know what I mean? And it was kind of like brushed under the rug, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is not, what I think it is. Because back in the day when they had the roller lip gloss, I used to have mine popping. My little lips was just be glistening like I had Crisco on it. You know what I'm saying? So, it was
and how old were you then?
Very, huh?
How old were you around that time?
This is right before probably 11.
Okay.
11, about to turn 12. So like I was able, yeah, about 11 to 12, and I would go and spend the night over my cousins, of course, my new cousin's house, and we would all have to sleep in the bed with him, and you know what I mean. When his brother, my mom's husband's brother.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it would just be uncomfortable little situations here and there, but after a while, then my dad, of course, rescued me from that situation. I hated him for it because now he made me a only child, and so I went from having.
So your older brother and younger brother were left to stay with the mother,
with my mom,
with your mom in that situation.
Yeah.
How were they just?
They dealt. I don't. They don't really talk too much about it. I mean, they just know that, that kind of destroyed my mom in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And they had to go through every situation, every relationship that my mother went through, they definitely went through.
Right.
And
so they lasted 3 years. You go to Virginia with your dad, and then you end up coming back. And I remember you mentioned something about you was with your brother, and your mom went to New York, and you were left taking care of him. And
yeah, with maybe a month and a half worth of food, and I had no job, and I was going to school all the way in Gwinnett. So I had to take the train, the bus, you know what I mean? And then, of course, she was saying, she'll pay bills every now and then. But the whole main thing, if the rent is $1,000 and I have no job, you know what I mean? And then now the food's gone because my little brother wants to eat everything. And, you know what I mean? Now I'm making phone calls to her friends. Hey, can I clean your house? Can I do your hair? You know what I mean? $30, $40, anything, you know what I mean? And that was pretty much a lot to have to deal with when all I'm trying to do is go to school and do hair like you wanted me to do. You know what I mean? My dad did hair as well, so it was like a family legacy, you know what I mean, for me to carry that on. But there's a lot of different obstacles in that, in the midst of that. Now, afterwards, my brother, my oldest brother didn't know, my uncle didn't know that we were over there struggling the whole time, and no mom. She ended up calling, like she would call every now and then. She'd be like, "Hey, I'm doing good," and I'm in
How long was she gone at this point? Like
months, like I'd say about 6, 7, maybe 8 months. We were gone. We were gone for a long time. And then when she did come, she came and got him, and I ended up having to stay with my uncle after he moved us in. You know what I mean? At first it was, I would bring food by. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, what's going on? Like, we're not going to keep bringing food to you. What's up? And I'm like, well, I don't know. My mom never came back. By that time the phone was off. My lights was being cut off. And, me and my brother, I'm still older. We still fight. We're still combative because he's in alternative school. He gets kicked out of alternative school for doing crazy stuff. So now I'm like, okay, I can't even.
That was really his own reaction of the instability.
Right. And so now I'm like, I can't even control him. What am I supposed to do? I got to go to school. I can't focus on school. Now I'm hungry. I go to school every day. Now I can't eat. People trying to feed me. You know what I mean? And this has happened more than one time that I've tried to complete school, and and messed up things have happened. But yeah, I mean, she didn't come back for a while, and then when she did come back, I was already, thank God I had she had introduced me to one of her friends that was a celebrity hairstylist, and I was doing good for a while, and then that's when stuff started getting good, and meeting celebrity clients, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. It was cool. And then my uncle decided he wanted to put me out because he thought I was having sex for money in his house. So that's how I ended up homeless for 6 months on the street.
How old were you? 18?
I had turned 18.
And where was your mom at that point?
She had came and picked up her son and moved to Savannah, I guess, to live in her car.
Oh, the car time period. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, she had her, her kitchen in the back seat, and
So, this is the part I got to go to this because, of course, here we are. Jermanie, we got a lot in common. And I think the part that over the last year, I had to come to realize, like once you know how you end something, you can't really see the whole picture. Unfortunately, these narcissistic type of things is that people will paint the picture. They'll get you to believe certain things. They'll precondition you to think this, tell you these different stories, these narratives. So you already could. I use the word conditioning. That's the best way to explain it. So I personally have the same level of understanding of having a toxic relationship as far as having difficulties with a mom and daughter, right? And then the family dynamic, because the bad part about it is the main person who you think is going to protect you, when they start creating and spinning narratives about you. And then as a child, like you say, child's supposed to be in a child place. You're not supposed to speak up. You're not supposed to say stuff. In our house, you weren't supposed to speak. It was that thing, what happens in my house, stay in my house type of generation. Because we're in that generation. We're about 10 years, a little bit more of a 10 to 12 years apart. So we're not that far away from each other in age. But it's enough to understand that you came from that same rearing, that you don't say what's going on, even as dysfunctional and as crazy as it is.
Right.
Young, and you come up in those situations, you don't understand that this is actually dysfunction, it's your normality. So until somebody or something or the situation gets so out of control, you don't necessarily understand what's going on, right?
Right.
But one of the things that I can say is that, of course, our interaction, as a woman, at some point, and this is the funny part, I know you said you grew up in church. And so my ex, your mother, even with me meeting her, she was this church person. So we talking two men. So where did the woman situation, like, where did that?
When did that stir the pot? When she's
Yes.
over there being a heathen now. No, I'm not just saying. No, she went to Savannah and she came back with a roommate, supposedly.
Mhm.
And I was still with my uncle at his house. I still stayed there. My oldest brother was about to go to the army, and she came with the news like, guys, I want you to meet my roommate, and she's been real helpful, whatever. And then I think maybe a month, later, she was saying, "Oh, I need all my kids to be in Savannah, Georgia for my wedding."
Okay. So how was that even, how did y'all even deal with that, knowing that, my mom, the same thing, holy roller, growing up in church and,
I thought she was a hypocrite. I thought she was a liar. I didn't want no parts of it because that's not what you taught me. You know what I mean? And for so long, my mom, because I played basketball, my mom was like, calling me a bull dagger the whole time. Like, I thinking I was gonna be a butch girl or gay because I wore baggy clothes and played basketball. So,
Ooh,
and I'm
yeah.
like, how the tables have turned. You love sushi now. Like, it's it
Stupid.
is what it is.
Not sushi.
So,
Not sushi.
so
So for
yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, because of a woman that has grown up to be a prophetess and what I mean, an evangelist and in the church and what I mean, all these things. And my great grandmother was a bishop, and what I mean, my grandmother was in the church. This is what we know. This is all we know is God and the church.
Mhm.
And these are things that you taught me, that being
She
gay
used to
was wrong,
condemn you about, that you were being condemned
and
about.
judge all of the people that were. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right.
so it really, we took it a lot harder because you know what I mean, you lied, number one, and told us this was your friend and roommate. All the while this was a whole relationship that you were hiding, when you could have just been, we probably would have took it better if she was honest and saying, came to us in a different way instead of just springing it up on everyone in the whole family. So it was a big shock. And
And
she got,
so this level of surprise, I'm sure, was probably a lot. So there wasn't an engagement per se. I don't know. This is now
no.
marriage number 3. I don't know how many engagements there were prior to this marriage, but um
uh, it's probably a lot more, but she said her share of, I can say this, man and woman, my mother's never been with anybody that's never had any money. They've always had a car, they've always had their own house, they've had good credit, great credit, businesses, money. And
and when we done, we over here broke, disgusted, bamboozled, in
and
therapy, crippled,
word.
financially, mentally, and emotionally. Ask me, I know.
And I've never been anywhere outside of the country with no money. Listen, I've never. Listen. And my mom's been over the world with donations, and people just want to bless her, and you know what I mean, and this person is wanted to send her somewhere, and it's cool. And I can't even lie. A lot of things that my mom has done, I've repeated, but I've gotten paid. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not going anywhere where I wasn't getting any compensation. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go somewhere where I was struggling. So that, I mean, a lot of ways, you know what I mean, my mom did, did her thing, but this was a whole totally new avenue of,
So we
her dealing with the whole woman. It
right.
was a lot different.
So this the first moment of hearing this situation. So did y'all go to the wedding?
Yeah.
How
Unfortunately, we did. It was a house wedding.
okay.
You know what I mean? Wasn't that many people that showed up, but me and my oldest brother were very upset. We didn't like it at all. My little brother had to accept it because he was the youngest.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we had nothing against the lady. The lady was cool. It's just the deception in it. You know what I mean? For so many years of a woman judging or saying these things are not right, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Your word is your bond. And that's how we felt. Like my mom, yeah, she could do wrong, but that's what my mom said, that's what we're going. You know what I mean? So for it to be that, it was just like for me, I didn't talk to my mom after that for probably about a year and a half.
Wow.
Year, 2 years after. And then that's when everything kind of trickled down when, you know what I mean, I ended up in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And what my story to everyone, which I did lie, and I told them I was going to another celebrity hairstylist to work for somebody in Florida, which all the while I was going to survive. Because I felt like nobody at that point really cared.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I didn't have no mama that really gave a damn at that point. And then my uncle was, he was young, making his little millions, doing his mortgage and, living his life. So, you know what I mean? He wanted his own house to himself. And now I understand that, but it was just the way that, and people kind of did things toward me that was kind of unfair. You know what I mean? Because I really wasn't doing anything to anybody, but trying to make a life for myself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So you get to Florida, and for you, what's the dynamics with, that, like, I guess you say your mom got married at that point. She's in Savannah, your brother's there. How long? So you ended up being in Miami and you were pretty much homeless.
Well, in Miami, I had a place to live.
Okay.
As soon as I got off the bus. The difference was I was in Georgia, I was sleeping outside.
Got you.
So, at train stations, on park benches, and wherever I could, staying with my uncle's friend for a little bit. Then they got kicked out. Then I stayed with one of my classmates for a little bit, and that didn't work. You know what I mean? They had family going on. So it was just a lot of bouncing around, still the same thing that I was doing when I was little. It was continuing to happen in my almost adult life. And so Miami was a place to live, a place to work, and a place to have some food.
Okay. I get it. I lived in Florida too. So
you know what I'm saying? Like at that point I didn't care pimp or not.
Mm-hmm.
I had security, I had a place, you know what I mean? And I was ready to do and be whatever anybody needed me to be at that point.
Right.
So yeah.
So once you kind of end up being there, and I know that, at the age factor you're talking about, you became a mom shortly, some years or so within that realm, or?
Yeah, after speeding up, some years later, I initially was told I would never get pregnant. Let's just put that there. Um, I was always told I would never have kids. I was not bearing.
Doctor or something?
Yeah, from the doctor. I was always told I would never have children. And so the fact that I even got pregnant more than once was a miracle to me in itself. I ended up having my first pregnancy at 21, and ended up the person that I was with um ended up making me get an abortion at 6 months. And then maybe a year, 2 years later, I ended up getting pregnant again by the same person. And ended up not knowing. Both times I didn't know I was pregnant. So when I left this last time, I had happened to be 3.5 months pregnant and didn't know the whole time. So I was just out there just doing whatever, surviving and working and hustling and doing what I had to do and escaping from another person that was, you know, um, taking advantage. You know what I mean? Somebody I did love and cherish, and, tried to build something with, who also was pimping me. um it was just too much. I was the bottom, and I was running pretty much the whole camp. And when things started to get rough, um I had to go. And I left millions of dollars in a name. I left cars. I left big house. I left everything, because it was either my life or it was me staying in a miserable place. And maybe it was, I didn't even know I was pregnant. So that would have been another baby that would have been gone. You know what I mean? So yeah, 23, I ended up having my oldest son, 4 pounds, 11 ounces. And he was my miracle baby, fought hard just like his mom fought hard. And now he's 15, standing strong, about to be in ninth grade. Woo woo. So I'm excited. And then
he's a miracle in itself, and
yeah, he is. He's
and
had it rough,
yeah.
extremely.
And it was amazing that, I remember when I met you after I said I do. And at the time when I met you, you didn't have him, you didn't know where he was. And I remember um, we had gotten married, and then within days your brother got married, and we was at your brother's wedding, and we all met, and you told me what was going on. Your mom had told me about him not being with you and not knowing where he
Right,
was. But after our discussion, I remember telling you, I said, we drove back together. And I remember
right,
telling you that you're gonna find them. And if I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna help you find them.
right.
And like I mentioned in the beginning, to find that he was somewhere right in your grips, crazy.
Yeah.
So once you left him and you had the baby, were you back in Georgia?
I actually moved with my mother in Chicago when I got pregnant. And so I went,
Wait a
tried
minute,
to come.
you left in Savannah, now she's in Chicago. So
Oh,
she
she ended up oh well, shoot, I fast forwarded too much, huh? She had got a divorce.
oh
But she had got a divorce from that lady. And ended up by the time I was 23, she was with another young woman who lived in Chicago, ex-police officer. And I reconnected with my mom. It seemed like every time I got pregnant, my mom knew. And so I would go, and she would offer her help. And wherever I was, my mom was like, no, okay, you're gonna come with me, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna do this, the baby and all this. It's cool. And then it was probably one of the worst situations that I had to go through
when you went to her
when I went and
to
allowed her to help me again. Yeah. It was a lot. It was difficult. I mean, it was good to get in school, but to go to school and not be able to eat, you know what I mean, and you're pregnant,
Mhm.
or you know, um, just the relationship was just, it was existent, but it was fake. And
With
I hadn't been around
your
my
mother?
mother in so long, It
Mhm.
was like, you know what I mean, like a show. still kind of the same round of how I was when I was a kid, when we're getting beat up at home and then we go to church and everything's fine.
Baby, so, ooh, girl, stop. Let me tell you something, Jeremy. You done hit a nerve, honey, because it's so funny. I'm having this conversation, and literally that exact type of sentiment, my same experience, for me, my mother and I have had toxicity, and my mother, she had a stroke over 10 years ago, and now she's dealing with a form of dementia. And
Right.
I had to come to a point of recognizing that this toxicity, the narcissistic treatment, the crazy aspects of going to church, and we in the choir and I'm playing the instrument, she in the church, and big hat and all this, and big personality, and the fashion fair, you know,
Right.
so that whole personality sounds familiar, right?
Yes.
And but also, going from, we leaving the house and you busting me upside my head and calling me out of my name, and then we walking into the church and we singing praising the Lord, and it's like this seems contradictory and crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you don't realize that the relationships that you're drawing, the experiences that you're drawing, is coming from these foundations
Mm-hmm.
of where your beginnings, in the areas of where your developmental, a friend of mine says your developmental ages are extreme, that time period between like 7 to 12 years old, and that imprint is a lot of what possibly can be what the rest of your life can look like, because of the influential aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And so when you say that, it's like, yeah, it's like that experience. And it's ironic, is precisely the element of how I recognize with your mom, that I saw these aspects of my mom in her, and how she carried herself, and the way she did certain things, and how she handled, which drew me to her. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
And when you say, you reconvening, and you guys having that time period, and it was unhealthy. And when you're pregnant, that's one of the most important times, that, what you're dealing with is transcending to your baby, right? And it affects you,
Yeah.
affecting that baby too, so now you're in Chicago, you've had the baby, and you're now trying to, it sounds like you're trying to rebuild yourself again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I ended up having to leave. I didn't actually get a chance to have the baby in Chicago. I was
This
actually
is my hometown.
I was kicked out. I was kicked out. My things were thrown down steps, and I was told to get out. And that was by my mother, all because I didn't want to impose on my friend.
Okay.
So yeah, I was already had a bus ticket from my aunt in Charlotte, and she was gracious enough to be the family that I really need,
And this was
and support
on your mom or dad's side?
on my dad's side. My dad's stepmother, I mean stepmom's, daughter. So this
Mhm.
will be my dad's stepsister. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Who I still consider my family. You know what I mean? My grandmother and my aunt. And they welcomed me since I was since birth. You know what I mean? So I've known them to be my family
So
all
you
my life.
have more stability from the dad's side versus the mom side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I did. My dad's mother never liked me,
Oh,
so she only before she died, maybe I think about been here 4 years. So like 4 years, like up until 4 years ago, she didn't want to have a relationship with me. Only on Facebook, she said.
oh no.
Um, she was okay with me having a Facebook relationship,
You
but
never.
not a physical up
Girl,
close relationship
people.
only because she was upset with my grandfather for cheating on her with the
Ooh.
woman that I call my grandmother. So I've had a lot of rejection on both sides. You know, yeah, pretty much. My dad's side was a lot more stable.
Mhm.
Um, but I wouldn't say I had very much connections with a lot of people. So like I don't know a lot of my dad's family, but I know, you know what I mean? Like um my grandfather, I was able to meet my grandfather and be around my grandfather from my my aunt, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, who's my dad's stepsister, you know what I'm saying? So and my grandmother, those are the people that was able to allow me to be around different family members. Now my mom's family, we all grew up like brothers and sisters, my cousins, you know what I mean? They
Right,
changed
right,
my diapers.
right.
And my grandmother was like my best friend. That was my ace boon cone. Me and her was a lot alike. You know what I mean? She was
Your
very blunt,
mother's
and
mother.
we were,
Mhm.
and you know, and she's very well missed. I was fortunate to be around my great grandmother before she passed. You know, so I've always grown up old, old soul, and
Mhm.
so um I just didn't have very big connections with a lot of people. I wasn't allowed to, you know, be around certain people. So I wasn't able to experience regular family type of things
Image. Yeah,
like a normal kid should have. You know what I mean?
right. I
So
do. So you didn't stay in Chicago. You ended up going from Chicago to back to North Carolina, and then the baby at some point, this situation with him gets pulled into another dynamic, right? And this is another guy that you end up seeing, right?
yeah, we had been together before I left Chicago. He ended up having a warrant. And I convinced him like, let's just go ahead and get taken care of, thinking that he was the father of my child, not
Mhm.
knowing it was my previous partner's baby.
Mhm.
Um, so I ended up getting into a relationship with him very quickly. And so, of course, he thought he was the father. I thought so too. But, you know, while I was pregnant, I was just, you know, like, it's almost time for me to have the baby. Let's
Mhm.
talk about DNA.
Mhm.
Because I did just leave my last partner, you know what I mean? I want to make sure everything is, you know, up and up. And no, he just like, no, I know this is my baby and all this. I'm like, okay. So I finally get to North Carolina. You know, I had complications with my baby, of course. My son ended up being hospitalized up until Obama's inauguration. He ended up getting out. And once he got out, I ended up um, going back to my aunt's house for a little while. And then, you know, my partner that he ended up, you know, resolving his legal issues. We
Mhm.
came back together and eventually I ended up moving down to Miami with
Okay.
him. And we ended up, you know, getting an apartment and stuff like that. And things were good. I mean, things were great. We had, you know, no problems. Everything was good. And you know, after I think about maybe 5 months, I think my baby was like maybe 5 months,
Mhm.
it was starting to become an issue. And we had our one first altercation, and I tried to call the police because he put his hands threw my baby on the couch, and it was just a whole big physical, you know, thing. We were on the balcony and went from the balcony. You know what I mean? I'm being scared that my baby's gonna be tossed over the balcony. You know what I mean? It was just a lot.
Mhm.
And I ended up not being able to call the police. He broke my phone and called the police on me. They told him to leave. And once they he left, I began to pack all me and my baby's stuff. And he came back right after like an hour later and sat in the house after the police told him to leave. And I was really trying to get away, but I couldn't at that time. The next day I ended up having my best friend come pick me up, and um he wouldn't let me take my baby with me. You know what I mean? So um he ended up getting a restraining order on me and a temporary custody
Of
of
your
my
child?
of my child.
So
And
you had the DNA at that time, or you did?
I didn't have no DNA, but come to find out, probably the reason why he was snapping was because his baby mother got a DNA test for him done behind my back, and it came out as a 33%
For your son?
for my son.
Wow. Wow. Mm, okay.
Yep.
So
And
then,
so, the judge granted him custody of my baby. And for a few months or whatever, he kept showing up to my job. At that time, I was back dancing in the club. He would show up to my job with the police saying that I kidnapped my baby, and I would steal my phone and tell them that I stole something from him. And it was just
toxic.
that went on for about at least 4 or 5 months. You know what I mean? I ended up finally being able to kidnap my baby back, and me and my best friend ended up getting my baby, and I ended up leaving and going back to my aunt's house. Well, I get a phone call from a detective in Miami saying if I did not bring my baby back to Florida, that they will be calling the people in Charlotte to come and arrest me and to transport me and my child back to Florida because I kidnapped my own child from his father.
And he wasn't his father.
And he wasn't his daddy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went through a lot with
Well,
him.
what's crazy is like you were taken from your mom in a struggle with your father, and then it turned around and happened for you with
Yeah.
your. Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
then, so in that time period, what was the support from your other side of your family? Like, because I know you keep talking about your dad's side. Were you able to get any support from your family that on your maternal side to help with the situation at that time? No, nothing. So are you literally you're in North Carolina and you go back to Florida,
Mhm.
and then at that point, how old was he when that happened?
It wasn't even a year.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah. So I had to bring him back. When I brought him back, you know, we ended up having to do the restraining order again. It was a big thing, and then he just
So you
ended
put
up.
the restraining
I
order
ended
on
up,
him.
yeah, and then of course it expired after a while. Whatever, it wasn't really like he kept showing
Temporary,
up.
right?
It was
Temporary.
temporary. So um, after a while, it made it to a point where he would be over all the time. So at a particular time I had to work, and he took care of the baby and then bring my child back. And that's how I never saw him after 4 years. I think he was 7 months.
When they took him, and then you didn't see him.
I
You
didn't see him
didn't see him
for four
like
more years.
right.
I didn't see my son again until he was 5.
Wow.
And then if he did allow me to see him, it was to bring money or buy gifts or
He wouldn't let you release him in your
oh
without.
no, no. And then I think one birthday party we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and one of my ex best friend called the police, and he convinced the police with his 33% DNA that he was the father, and I could not take my child with me.
Wow.
So anytime that I went to the police departments, the police tried to lock me up for telling them someone kidnapped my child who was not his father. And, I had five detectives around me, surrounding me, accusing me of throwing my baby in the trash, and why would you give him to a stranger? And you know what I mean? It was
Oh,
a lot.
that's traumatic, man.
It's a lot.
So I know by the time I came around, um, I don't know, I know that the person in Chicago, the distance between the person in Chicago and me was, I think, two more people in
Yeah.
between. So by the time I got to you, so if he was taking a 7 months and your mom was in Chicago then, so within a 4-year time period, there was a relationship behind that one.
hmm
And
I think my mom, like, maybe after I left, I think they lasted maybe another year.
mhm,
They got divorced.
okay. And then it was another, I
And
knew
then
that
she had another person. Those were girlfriends. And I don't know if they are
she married
engagements.
the one before me because I met her at
Yeah.
church. So literally within a 4-year time period, and I'm talking this timeline because I find it very interesting how from that time period of him coming into the world, you having him, you going all of these different places. By the time I came into the picture and you got him back within that 6, 7 month time period that I had interaction with you, but at that time I had already been with your mom like a year or two and we got married. So then you got him back. And in that time period of getting him back and being, out there, because you're kind of in different places, in different situations. And I remember when we actually got the chance to actually physically meet, and this is unfortunately, I'm just gonna be real with you. Um, it was tough to hear the dynamics or the narrative about you,
hmm
right? And unfortunately, um, I try to give people opportunity to be who they are as long as they tell me I believe you who you say you are unless you show me different.
Right.
And so for you, to hear what you shared with me so far is like, wow. Because by the time we got to meet and become connected, I had this whole picture of you that was so totally different, right? And because of the narrative that I was told about you, it was already apparent that I was being told a certain story about you, certain stories about you. So I think to create this space between us,
Right. Right.
right? And so in knowing that what I was told, it was a lot of times it was challenging, Jermanie, to see you dealing with what you were dealing with and not understanding how certain things wasn't adding up, right? And feeling like, you know, sometimes I was judging you inappropriately so. I'm gonna be
Right.
very honest. And I can stand right now and say that I fully have to give apologies to that because I was told that you had sexually transmitted diseases that you didn't have. I was told that you were, all of these mavens of this, the sex trafficking world and all these just all these escapades, just a lot of things that was just a very untrusting way.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? And to then, deal with the situation with you getting your son back. And then I know that you had gotten into another relationship at that point, some years later,
Right.
but the chaos and the confusion, right? And then to be now I'm a part of the equation of the family, right? And there would be times where your mom would be pressing me about things that pertain to you, but she wasn't stepping into what I felt was her position to do as a mother. We're in Georgia, and like you said earlier, these partners, I had a house 5, 6 years before I met her that I owned. I had my business, I had my cars, I had my comedy club that I had shut down prior to us getting together. I had already established this brand. for years before, right? So then to connect to, to your family and being told a narrative about you and your brothers, not just you, but you and your brothers. And it is, and I'm honing in on this because narcissistically, like these type of behaviors are unhealthy. And people like myself that are targeted because we're trusting, we're typically caring, probably too trusting,
Yeah.
and then we become actually these enablers, right? And we start stepping into spaces that we really shouldn't be, you know? Um, Very shortly after I, I married your mom, we had a huge wedding expo that your mom told, she told me all these stories about her doing these events and that she's doing all these things and all her history of doing business and, all this, narratives and stuff. And so I think that she knew and understood with me having the marketing arm and where I was, that I was this asset to what she was doing. And of course, you're supposed to support your spouse, right?
Right.
Do what you should do. But the thing is, what you didn't tell me is that, you go and do these grandiose things, like going to the Georgia World Congress Center and renting out an entire exhibit hall and writing a check that you can't even cash, that bounces, and continue to keep this event going for 5 or 6 months, which was literally 3 months after we got married. And uh, we get to a point of weeks before the event, and you're not pulling back from the perpetration of what you're implying that you're capable of doing, when I already know that this is way beyond, right? And then we get to a point where we just get publicly completely humiliated because you don't involved cancer awareness. You don't involve this woman that's supposed to be getting this wedding, this dream wedding, and you got all these vendors that you've tied into your, to your grand scheme of things. And then we get publicly put into a situation where another vendor that you approach outs you about your contract that's null and void for tens of thousands of dollars of space that you can't even perform. And it's funny because not knowing that you're not capable of really doing what you say or implying that you do. Like how you said you felt about her telling you that she was dealing with a woman, right? And that you felt, bamboozled in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like you made it seem one way, but it was really another.
Right.
And these behavioral things, I'm expressing it because there's a lot of people that are in these kind of relationships, whether they're parents, intimate relationships, um, social relationships, and you don't understand the certain things don't add up, right? And there's certain things that's happening and that's being said or done that are not adding up, that you are not really capable or able to do.
Right.
And then when it does not work the way it should, there's no accountability.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I can say for me, by the time you guys were, in my life, I had this whole full depiction of what was being told to me about you guys. So the hard part of this is that, shortly after you got your son back, and within what, 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
you end up getting pregnant again, right? And our relationship starts to feel the
Well,
strain.
now it's in 2 years, but like, because they way apart. So like Jermaine was 7 when I got pregnant. Yeah,
Yeah,
2 years.
so yeah, 2 years.
Damn,
Exactly.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was. That's why I was like, there, it was 2 years.
That's
I
horrible.
know. I know. But you know what's so funny? Like literally, one of the things that's crazy to me, and this is one of those things that, like, sitting here now, I still feel like I can't believe that I didn't see things clearly. And I used to feel like I understood when you talked about the dynamics of dealing with your brother, dealing with the instability. And it's so weird because I went from having a home that I bought and owned and had been living in one address for 6 years. And then when, you know, your mom comes into my life, it's like I took on the energy of how her life had been, the instability, being all over the place, not, you know, not having sensibility of things. You know, it was just this energy that just like overtook. But the bigger part of it that made it even harder, I think, for me, is that here I am in this relationship thinking that, you know, I'm having somebody, because I had never been married. This was my only one time physically getting married and
Right.
trusting that situation. So to get to that and realize that what what has been displayed as supposed to be a love connection was not any of that.
Right.
Because we hit ahead when you got pregnant with your second son. And it's so funny, before you found out you were pregnant, you had came for a visit to the house where we were.
Right.
And I had just had a crazy experience dealing with your mom's situation and some of your family members, and they were at the house with us. And
Right.
you know, I was believing one thing and it was a whole nother thing that was happening in the parameter on the background of that. And so by the time you found out you were pregnant, at that time, ironically, my air conditioning had went out in the heart of the summer.
Yeah.
And my unit at the time, my neighbor was an AC HVAC guy. So he gave me a really, really good deal to replace the HVAC. So he's like, yo, 750, I'll install it. I got a system for you. I put it in. At the time, we was in between. I don't know what was going on, but literally from that failed event, my business took a hit for about a good year where nobody wasn't even doing business with me at all because of the association and connection of what took
Right.
place. So then literally, I go and borrow the money from my BFF at the time that you know. And little did I know, your mom talking to you about coming to Georgia, because you said every time you got pregnant, she would try to bring you forth, point blank. She tells you to come, don't have this discussion or care with me. Now, what I didn't know is that at that time period, that you all had this communication and you did something to, you talked to her. You could kind of give me that background part, because here I
I sent
am.
her money to pay for her AC
You sent
before.
her money. How
Yeah.
how how much was it you sent her?
I sent her like 600.
Okay. So here I am, the other spouse here, borrowing the money from a friend at the time who I had to get this money back to. And over here, my spouse is getting money from the daughter that she ain't told me nothing about, ain't told me about the money, definitely did not get, we weren't on the same level as it pertained to you coming. And then you pull up on the house and we have a whole issue. And so for me, you know, to hear, Jermanie, what you have endured for 30 some odd years of your life, you know, I can say this now that I regretfully, um, and this is the sad part, you got caught in the middle of something that really did not, you should not have been in the middle of, as it pertained to my spouse. First of all, you manipulated the situation, took money from your daughter, didn't even tell me you took the money. Then which, and the reason why you sent the money was because she told you to come.
Yep. And my baby daddy didn't want me there.
So she baited you to the situation and knew that you was providing money to quote unquote fix the air conditioning unit, because it was in the summer, it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't come pregnant and be sitting up in the house.
Right.
Here it is, this money is sent to her. You don't lie to me, ain't told me. Meanwhile, I'm over here breaking my back trying to fix the air. Then you pull up on us and we got a whole issue. And literally within the second day, you take your son and y'all leave and go somewhere. And I politely, oh no, let me back up.
I went to a cookout.
That's right. Let me back up. Because literally,
That was the second day.
we had a argument. We had a blowout. You left the house and we had a huge argument. And I left my own house for 2 days. And I think I forgot what she may have told you, but I left my own house for 2 days because at this point we were married at what, 3? We had been married 2 years. And I had already gotten to the point of like, it was so many things that had already just been taking place and that was just out of control. But it was like, okay, this is like too much. And so because of me leaving the house, and I think that there was this fear factor or this manipulation factor given, you know, you leave the house and your mom implies that she is going to harm herself, right? Out of desperation of circumstances, manipulation. So naturally, you send me a text message with this implied thing in a figure in the text message that is a physical weapon. I call the police and they get involved, and you have no choice. You have to now succumb to the thing you done started.
Right.
She leaves the house and you leave the house. And by the time you came back to the house, she had already been picked up and taken to the hospital. And you come back to us doing this, you know? And I graphically give this memory because I think it's important that people who are in relationships, because see, I am very much on the LGBTQ side, you over there on the straight side, right? So males, females, young, old, you need to understand and look and pay attention to people and watch these behaviors because it is all fully manipulation and intentional. You see what I'm saying? And so when the harm myself expose happens, then we over here battling and I literally basically got to the point of what? Put you out of the house. Well, earlier today, before we got on this call and you sent me your song that I'm going to play, I literally just had a moment of saying, God, and you know, the more you've shared these different things, I feel so freaking horrible that I became a conduit of responsibility of mistreatment of you, your son, and your unborn child. And I want to publicly apologize for
that. Okay. I forgive you. Shoot, it made me stronger. Shoot, it was already written. You know what I'm saying?
But so, it just goes to show. I'm gonna tell you something that's so funny in this moment. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, one of my friends in Atlanta suddenly passed on a business trip. She died, and they had to bring her body back to Atlanta, and they had her funeral. So one of my ministerial friends, he comes in from Texas, goes to Georgia to do to perform a service and do her eulogy. And he made this statement that just stuck with me. And he said that, you know how during the service they allow people to get up and speak and talk about their friendship, their relationship, their, whatever endearing moments they want to have. And Pastor Will said during that service, he said, eulogizing is simply people speaking of you, speaking over your life and what you've been and done in their life. And he said, people will make you think or believe who they want you to think that they are. But he said, if you really want to know who or what a person is, he said, you ask their children and their spouses, because they are the two people that know best who that person really is.
Right.
And can I tell you, I just never encountered in an intimate relationship the level of manipulation and just covert. This ain't just narcissism, there's also a sliver of personality disorder, because we have all been led to believe that it's bipolar disorder, right?
Right.
But that diagnosis is not a complete one,
Right.
right? And, you know, mental illness, and that's the other thing. If you're diagnosed in these things, you don't take the medication. You say you don't like to take medication. That's because you're not that. You can't take the medication that's prescribed for that because you're not that. Let's
Right.
go first. Secondly, if I would have took the time to pay attention to how, and I'm not going to say I didn't at times, I just didn't understand a lot of how your brothers would move with her. You know, there was kind of this Heisman
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? The grandchildren, the same, right? And especially you, there was this whole dynamic of toxicity that was always given about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I would have really paid attention to the measurement of what was being said about you guys, and the way you all were being handled, or the way that, you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that I should have saw more deeper, because of how I know I was being handled in my upbringing, in the stories and the narratives that was being spent about me. You know what I'm saying? And I really can see myself in you in that way now, right?
Right.
But the thing that's crazy to me is that I remember last year, well, first and foremost, we met, your mother and I had this separation happen over 2 years ago. And shortly after me moving away from this situation, the messages went out to all of these people and all these stories. And she clearly told me that I'm not going to leave her out here, which meant, quote unquote, you about to spin these stories and let people believe and think that I've abandoned you and done all of this stuff,
Right.
right? The crazy part of it, though, was that I remember separating, just pulling away from you guys, and just disconnecting, because I just had to. But when you sent me that text message last year of you and your mother jumping on you,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that took me on a big spin. And I had already started breaking down what I recognized to be, like, this is not bipolar disorder, this is narcissism. You see what I'm saying? And this mask of the church, the ministerial,
Yeah.
the being pulled into becoming a sex trafficking advocate because, oh, this my daughter's
It had
story.
nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with me. I was the paper child. The
And supposed to
poster child of the sex trafficking world, because that's what, okay, but you benefited from my sex trafficking. You benefited off of me doing anything with pimps. We paid your bills. We supported you, and they couldn't stand you. So a lot of times when they didn't meet my mom, they tried to keep me away from her
and why was that?
because they knew what type of person she was.
You know what's crazy? I remember your mama said to me one day, she said, I could be a madam. And I was like, oh, what? And when she said it, I was like,
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
whew, child, I might need something a little stronger than this Coca-Cola.
So sorry. I'm the candy lady too.
So, I'm gonna tell you the other thing I think that's crazy is that if when I, you were saying about how the pimps and stuff would people would try to keep you away from her because of the type of person she was. And I think that that's how, for me, that's how I got caught. When I got to Atlanta, a lot of people, I didn't run in a lot of circles. I knew a lot of folks, but I didn't run in a lot of circles. So I was kind of this mystery piece. And then I did not have anybody that I could literally give that I knew personally enough that could tell me about your mom and how she was and a lot of her
Right.
history. So all I had was what she told me, right?
Right.
But literally the ex-wife, the one before me, I knew from a distance because we went to church together. And and it's so funny because I remember her telling me that woman, I remember her telling me how this woman had jumped on her and she told her she was a narcissist. And she's like, I'm not no narcissist. She's the narcissist. And, just spent this whole story, had me believing it, had
Yeah.
me all engulfed in it. And I remember one day, we're going to the same church, and there was a group of friends, the ex that you talked about, this Savannah, right? Um, she literally was still in the friendship circle then.
Yeah.
I knew her. And there was a couple of other friends that she had. And so literally one day we were at church, and I swear something went left real fast. I don't even know what happened, but that moment, the couple that were a female couple that was there with the ex spouse
Mm-hmm.
friend, was not the bestie. Literally, they looked like they were gonna kill her. And I didn't know what was going on. So she comes back to me and tells me, oh, the ex done spent this story, blah, blah, blah. So ironically, I think this ties in close to your experience and some things. So the ex that's in Chicago, we've connected.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom told me about her.
Mm-hmm.
I knew who she was from a distance, and ironically, we both from Chicago. Ironically, we got a lot of things in common. We play drums. She came up in the gay house family realm, like myself. I performed back in the day. We had a lot of similarities. And of course, she told me about when they got married. You probably remember this. But for her to tell me that this woman took $30,000 and burned through her credit cards,
Yep.
that she literally spent her so bad and put her through. And when I tell you, talking to her was the real validation to know that I wasn't freaking crazy. That these 10 years of chaos and feeling like I've been riding in a car with no brakes,
Mm-hmm.
it then explains so much about you and your brothers. When a woman that we have 15 years in distance between the dealing with the same person, who she also, in fact, has connection to the first husband.
Yeah.
Friends there. And so there's this level of consistency of all of these partners, spouses that have gone through having, like you said, the money, having the property, having their stuff together, and each and every single one of us depleted, financially ruined. I tell you, literally, there's been so many, like God has been working on me so hard these last 2 years.
Right.
And when you sent me that video of her, like I thought a man was jumping on you when the video came across. So I heard all this screaming. And then when I saw your face and then I saw her, and I was like, whoa. And the video was a minute long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the hell? What was that? Like, what even brought that on?
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, let me guess. You didn't order the food the way she wanted it. You didn't get the kids meal.
She turned, I'm
You didn't get the
30.
kids meal.
She wanted to get me a kid's meal and replace the toy for an ice cream.
Drink
Like,
yeah, in a cup.
but at this point, I was paying for it. So there's no point of us getting no kids' meal if I'm coming out my pocket to pay for both of our meals. So she still was deciding that she wanted to order for me. And I said, Mom,
Wow.
it's okay. I can order for myself. I said, go ahead and order what you wanted to order. And she still was persistent. I said, ma'am, can I get a lemonade? That's all I want. Just want a lemonade. Give me my 12 count. I'm good. Well, she ends up telling the lady, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a large lemonade, put the ice on the side. And I'm looking at her like, if
No.
that's what you want, I will pay for that.
Right.
But me personally, I want my Chick-fil-A got the ice.
Now, this is the funny part, and I want you not to lose your place.
Okay.
Time period that you got your tax money back. Let's line it up. And my sweet, sweet girl that's sitting here in front of me, you're sitting physically where? Where are you right now that you've been living at for a year?
Hotel. Maintaining.
Okay. So you're at the Chick-fil-A.
So yeah, I go ahead and whatever, Ma. Let's just go to the window, get our stuff. So they give me a large lemonade, my meal, her meal. She got a nice little salad, whatever the case may be. Cool. So we're driving off, and I said, Ma, I said, what's really funny? I said, Ma, I'm you are a grandmother. And I'm 30, at the time I was 36. I'm 37 now. I said, I'm 36 years old and I can't order my own food. I said, that's crazy. She said, I don't want to hear it. You being very disrespectful. I said, disrespectful? I said, I'm not being disrespectful, Mom. I'm just trying to let you know that I am 36. I am capable of making my own decisions for my food and my life. She told me to shut up. And I said, I don't understand why I'm having to shut up. I'm just saying I am old enough to make my own decisions. When it comes to, I don't want a kid's meal. I'm not a child no more, Mom. You better shut up. I should slap you right now. I said, and why would you even put your hands on me? For what? What would be the reason?
36 years old.
36.
Was that the first time she ever put her hands on you like that?
No, when I was 18, and I deserved that. I said, we on the same level. I'm grown because I was paying her bills. So I felt like you call me and ask me for money. We on the same page. I'm 18, I'm grown. She slapped me in my mouth. So that was deserving. I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay. We ain't on the same level.
That was disrespectful.
That was disrespectful. This one, I'm like, it was no disrespect. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cuss. You know what I mean? I still don't cuss in front of my mom. And if I do it, I apologize before I even do it. I don't smoke around my mother. I don't do any of those things. As a 36-year-old, you know what I mean? Now that I'm 37, but as a 36-year-old, I have not done anything to try to disrespect my mom. Mm-hmm. But I've gotten so much disrespect. Mm-hmm. And I can no longer make an excuse for a woman, you know what I'm saying, to do all of these things and just say, oh, that's just my mom. Right. I love her. That's my mom. I love her anyway. Right. Okay, I can still love you and not be with you at all. I don't have to deal with any of those things. If you're not going to support my life truly and not just support me in my face, but then tarnish my name behind my back, then I don't need you a part of my life. And God had to start showing me, okay, this is your last straw. We already talked about this. I said, Ma, let's, you know what, I've been going through my awakening and things like that. Let's get back whatever had happened in the past, whatever you feel, however I feel, whatever you want to say about me, let's start over. Let's go from scratch. I said, because from what God is telling me is that we need to start building a better relationship so we can start breaking generational curses. And it starts between me and you.
Right.
That was what I told her. That was months before then. Then this particular day, she decided, that was the same day I got in an argument with my baby father, and he told me I would never see my son again. So I'm already going through that. I didn't take it out on you.
Right.
But for you to pull over in these white people neighborhoods and proceed to drag me out of your car, out of your friend's car.
Right. Let's go there. It ain't her car.
Not even your car, because you don't even have a place to live at this moment. You
Right.
don't have a car at this moment.
Literally, that was what, 3 months after she left California.
Right.
Being out here after we separated, and she stayed in that apartment with $2,100 for
Right.
11 months.
Tried to convince me to come with my child.
Right. And I told you, don't come out here because the
Right.
marshal's gonna put you and your child out because
Right.
he's
And be
sitting
in another situation.
and I get a $21,000 bill from an attorney for her sitting in an apartment that she couldn't afford.
Yeah.
But you
So,
know, you think, let everybody believe that I don't do nothing, and I would. But go ahead, continue.
yeah.
And
So, you know,
2023 now. This ain't
yeah,
a time ago.
it's not a long time ago.
I got that attorney letter still coming correspondence today.
Right.
Today for $21,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment. That was the cleaning part of it was a $3,000 part of the bill. How do you have a 1-bedroom with a $3,000 cleaning bill? And I took the pictures of what the place looked like when I pulled my stuff out of there. Okay, continue. Go ahead.
So yeah, you know, it was a crazy day because I'm just looking at her. At first, initially, I laughed and I was like, "Mom, you playing right? Like, girl, I know we is not. If you don't get back in the car, listen, like, no, you gonna get out." And I said, "I'm not getting out." I said because this is not, you know, I just paid for you a rental car and gave you some money.
Oh, that's right. You just took the car back, and she picked you up to take the car back. Okay.
So
this is
I
last
just
year.
put money in your pocket.
This is a year ago.
Yeah.
Last year. Go ahead.
And I was in the worst place then than I was now.
Now. That's right.
So, you know what I mean? For me to come out my pocket, I gave her money. Boss got to rent a car for you. You know what I'm saying? Now you want to beat on me. You tried to rip my nipple off. It just then, you know what I mean, scratching, pull my wig off, tore my shirt so all my boobs is hanging out. It was just too much. All because I said I can make my own decisions. And because I'm not gonna allow you to keep controlling my life and everything that you've asked me to do and you say I don't do it, I've done it and it has not worked. So I can't.
I'm also commend you and apologize to you on this because after I'm gonna say from the point that I know of 4 different hair salon suites that you go and open up, Jermanie need to come work. You go pay, sign a lease, and the first check don't clear 4 times. Tampa, Florida, two times in Georgia. Tried to do it in California, and I was like, no, we're not finna do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I've already seen my mom business fail when I was younger. You know what I mean? The only one that was really successful was the hair salon that we had in our house in the garage and transferred it.
How many years?
Huh?
How many years ago was that?
That was like when I was
in the 90s.
A little kid in the 90s. You know what I mean? Other than that, I haven't really seen any of my mother's businesses, all 20,000 of them, succeed the way she wanted to succeed. And I've been for my mom, but I've been the only child that's been for her the most.
Right.
I've been the
You
yes person.
mistreat the most. Right.
I've been the yes girl. When everybody else is saying no, it's me that's saying yes. I'm the one. Everybody's like, why didn't you just tell her no? Because that's my mom.
Yeah,
That's my mom.
I did the goofy shit too. So
You know what I'm saying? And I would never, I mean, I never wanted to come against my mother, but when it comes to a point where
but when you know you're being manipulated, honey, and you know that you're
yeah,
being drugged, enough is enough. And this is
that was
not,
my breaking point
yes,
when
and I
she
commend you.
decided to lie and call the
Continue.
police at that. Call the police and then lie to them in their face, saying that I tried to beat her up. I whooped her.
To get you arrested.
And they had 3 police officers. Oh, she heard the police officer say, "Oh, I think you might have a warrant in Valdosta," which is one that she was supposed to have taken care of.
And she knew that. So she was
Of,
hoping that they was going to take it.
of course. And it's not active. Everything's good.
Thank God.
So, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, but that could have been a case where you didn't care. My son was still out. He wasn't gone. So I have 2 kids. So you was gonna allow my son to still be
That your life
outside.
situations over the last 5 or 6 years, you don't even have them right now.
Mm-mm. Neither one.
And I'm just when I tell you, I had to pray before we got on here because I was like, how much of this conversation, how deep are we gonna go? But you know what I realized? If you don't expose this shit, it won't stop. It won't.
Right.
And I'm so like you, girl. I only had 10 years invested. And it didn't take that long for me to lose everything. That same house foreclosed on.
Mm-hmm. And I was blamed for that.
And do you know?
It was my fault.
Baby. And this is the thing. Like, you had the audacity to leave this state and tell all these people how I've done all this stuff to you. My people who I thought were my friends. I've had to sit back and watch these people play like, oh, we cool, but you're not. Heard the conversations. Let's talk about the trips. We had a mutual friend that was getting married, COVID. Lives out of the country. We were going to go to the destination wedding in Hawaii. Of course, my flight benefits was in position. So, your mama want to ride them. So COVID happens. They had to reschedule to the next year. Our friend in Miami, you and the baby met.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So it got moved from Hawaii to Greece.
Well, yeah, I remember.
And then 2021, COVID was crazy in the UK. So they had to push it to 2022. So 2022, Greece, my birthday week. And at this point, I had had enough. I was done. I had already separated, but my intention was to still go to the wedding. I had never been to Greece. I'm thinking me and the friend are still on mutual territory.
Mm-hmm.
No, of course, your mom goes and spins the narrative. So when I made contact with him to find out about the arrangements, he's kind of vague. He ain't giving me too much, nothing. I get off the phone with him. Your mother calls me and says, oh, yeah, he's uncomfortable with you coming. He knows about us, our divorce, and he would prefer that you not be there and cause stress and strife. Woo! Okay, so I done got uninvited. But before the uninvited part, let's back it up.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was told it was going to be in Greece, your mama had the audacity to say to me, well,
ticket.
She gonna tell me, we should renew our vows and invite people to come. We should make it a travel trip. And you're gonna invite one of the people that's his ex that he don't even want to know that he get married. And you trying to figure out a way to have him come. Oh, it gets better. Then you tell me we could renew our vows. I said, hold up. That boy is getting married. What do we look like coming to the man marriage, wedding, destination wedding, and then we're just gonna overtake his wedding? And see, I ain't paid attention, Jermanie. This is how I got baited into the marriage in the first place, because she did it with your brother. When your brother called and said, "Hey, mom, I'm getting married in Martha's Vineyard," she got off the phone with him and was like, "You know what, son, we should go get married in DC and then go to his wedding." And like a dummy, I said yes. Okay. So needless to say, so this boy's wedding is coming up. I said, first of all, this man is getting married. We're not doing that. Second of all, my birthday is that week. How about I can celebrate my birthday after we do his wedding? Homegirl told me, well, you can just come. I can handle everything and I can put it all together. You can just show up.
Of course.
That's when so that was one of a couple of things, but that was just like, okay, you are certified.
Mm.
So then the following year, we separated. Homeboy done told me what he said. Your mama gets with one of her friends, because she wasn't flying on my flight benefits at that point. That was over with. She get a one-way ticket, and I know you remember this. She gets the one-way ticket, goes to Europe, go to bed, and then within a day or two, she calling my godmama. She
What's the
calling,
matter? She got me.
and get this, my godmama said yes. So I got the call from Daba Daba Daba, and she said that she had an international trip and didn't know the bags were gonna be extra money. So could you send her $100 for the bags? Who goes out of the country and ain't got no money for bags?
She do. She went all the way over the world with no money.
Sleeping on the beach, all kind of, yeah,
Of
I know.
course.
So literally you get over there, but this one it gets better. So you, a couple other people now telling me that she ain't got no bread over there. One of my friends said, you know what? Because see, she already started to be really found out and exposed in this light. And so one of my folks next to me, who really been waiting on me to wake up, was like, she over there with no money and telling people that it ain't what it looks like over here. I'm over here with no food, nowhere to stay, got your bags, you taking all these little stupid pictures like you do. My friend said, I guarantee you that she gonna do one or two things. She gonna tell them people over there she got robbed, because she gonna have to find a way to get home and get money. And baby, it wasn't the next day, girl. What pops up on the picture on the feed? The Grease police and her statement of them coming to the rescue. And she sat her butt over there for 2 weeks.
Collecting checks. Collecting donations.
And let's talk about donations. Let's talk about these causes that you be duping all these people to believe that you partake in.
Yes, the raffle tickets is the one.
Raffle tickets. Like, how do you get a bike that was given to you to give to an autistic family that you're connected to? You take the bike and then raffle it off for money, and then you raffle it off to a doctor that don't even need it. That has nothing to do with autism, that the bike was given to you free, electric bike, a $2,000 bike.
Yeah, nice one.
Let's talk about my business client out here that you were introduced to while I was shooting her commercial, and I told you to bring me something I forgot at the house, and you meet her. I didn't want to introduce you to her, but you meet the lady, get close to her, then you do a whole photo shoot at the girl's place. We separate. Then you go and start telling these women all these woe is me stories, get her all close to you, call that same godmama back, had her buying her clothes all the way from Florida, damn near $1,000 worth of inventory, because you wanted the woman to trust you. Then you turn around and bait the woman into paying $2,500 to do a pop-up shop at our building, at our beautiful rooftop and 2-level building.
And nobody show up, bro.
That nobody showed up, one that you paid to do the marketing for. And how about this? The space that we got, when you do a free event, you don't have to pay for that space.
Well, she charged the driver.
So that woman calls me and says, you know what, Sonny, I paid for this lesson. And she said to me directly, she said, why would you introduce me to your wife if you knew she was that kind of person? And I was like, first and foremost, I didn't introduce you to her. I didn't make her your buddy. But second of all, the woman said, I got to admit, I paid for that lesson. She said, I could see how you got all caught up, all of the pizzazz and all the flair. She said, but at the surface, ain't nothing there. And I was just like, wow. And this is after 5 months. She comes to have that experience. And so, as you know, I'm like, you so bold, you defraud an entire country. And it's like the countless relationships of people that have been burned and broken. And I got to the point where I got tired of being embarrassed,
Right.
being humiliated, being homeless with a house. People say, Sonny, how you get to California? Well, let's see. During the time period, you came back with the baby. Remember, you came back. I
Yeah.
wanted you to come back to the house because here you are with a newborn baby in the streets of Alabama in a car with a newborn baby in the freaking freezing cold. He was born in January.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, enough already. My anger of the situation is not greater than you being out there in the street like that. And I said, come back to the house. 4 or 5 months after that incident, right?
Right.
And within a few months, I had those plane tickets. We took the trip to Hawaii because I didn't want to lose the tickets because they were gonna expire. They were tickets over. So we get over there, and long and behold, I get opportunity. I get some business. Got hired. Got a job. Left you at the house with the babies, but financially you weren't in a position. You just had a newborn baby. But I was hoping that somewhere or another something would make sense because at this point it really wasn't a plan. Hawaii was a fluke. We went on vacation for 2 weeks, for 10 days, and ended up staying for months. And my mortgage, at this point, I'm trying to, I took advantage of the opportunity of having a job there because business wasn't consistent. My reputation was being tarnished every time I looked around because of the association with your mother. Let's be real. But then outside of that, I get a client that strokes a check with me for $5,000 for me to do all her branding and marketing. Her business is blowing up, and that same woman, here go your mama, checkbook pocket in her. It jumps all over her to do what? A hair show. 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And you got our friend over here trying to create financials for you to try to go and open a salon suite in Hawaii. That's an $800,000 property. And the man looking for you to give him $28,000. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's these things that just constantly, and I'm like, okay, Georgia, you leave Georgia, we're in Hawaii. You leave Hawaii, and now we're in California. It's the same shit. It ain't the place. It's you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in Georgia in the house, and we're in Hawaii, and I'm like, Jermanie, I love you, but if utilities, rent, mortgage, I'm paying $4,000 or $5,000 in expenses in Hawaii. Your mother ain't working. She laying on the disability level of income. That's her groove.
Right.
You want to do 5,000 businesses.
My McDonald's check won't cut in. I'm paying all my McDonald's check just to keep lights on and stuff that my mom didn't tell me that stuff was overdue with no lights and the gas getting cut. I'm like, well, I just paid the $300. You just told me that was all it was, and it will be something on top of that, and it was extra. And I never knew the whole time that I was there. I never knew that they were backed
Here
up.
we both go looking stupid because neither one of us really knows the other side of the big picture. This is how narcissistic behaviors look. They will have you over here thinking one thing. They got everybody believing this. They got another narrative spent, and this is the fucked up part. They'll have you stepping in front of the gun to protect her. Be having you thinking that you are. And let me say this. I got to say this. This is Pride Month, and I need all of my LGBT people I got Dating Like a Dyke now streaming on LouddMouth TV for a reason, because when I tell you all, we got to do better, especially my stud, masculine, androgynous, identified women. Stop thinking that you saving people. Stop standing in the heat of fire, or I'm gonna be everything that this wasn't doing for you. That's the bait. That's the ridiculousness. That is the unhealed toxicity that we are prevarating in this community. Because even right now, you already know your mama ain't played no games. She on to the next one.
On to the
I
next.
literally don't know. Even though we got a mutual connection there, I don't know that woman. I pray for that woman every day, because I know she over there thinking she on a God's love mission. Until you in that boat, because this is what my life felt like all the fucking time. You just go over here to plug this hole, and then the other hole is running. Then you run to the other side of the boat, you try to plug it. Then you run. You know how crazy I used to be fucking looking around here all the time?
Yeah.
You know, because you one day you just outright said, Sonny, why you let her talk to you like that?
It's enough is enough. Like, you can't be being disrespected. Like,
I literally recognize that this is why this web series is happening. And I have to take something of 10 years that was fucking horrible, chaotic, confused, and like, to lose yourself to the capacity when my friends, homies, people like, man, Sonny, you don't even smile like you used to. You gaining all this weight. Literally, like 6 months before I left, I wasn't sleeping. I was so stressed. How I got a business named LouddMouth and I couldn't even talk. Jermanie, I stopped broadcasting live. See, the funny part about this, when you were in Georgia, we were in Hawaii, and then I had to come back to Georgia and fight because I had two bad mistakes. I rented the house to the first person, unbeknownst to this, don't need to know the lady, vetted her, dotted the I's, crossed the T's. This woman made $10,000 plus a month, didn't matter. First thing she signed that lease, she says, you know, Sonny, do you want to lease your house or sell it? I said, no. I said, your rent is my mortgage. I just need you to pay that. I'm already over here doing everything I can. Sonny's working, trying to push my business. Wife that don't work, refuse to work, always trying to spin a business. Okay. I'm over here on bankruptcy payments. That's not even a mortgage. Bankruptcy is one part. Then I got the mortgage payment. Then we living in Hawaii. So you already know that's $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month to live over there. So when the girl stopped paying, I come back to Georgia, evict her, get her out, made the utter mistake, rented to, I thought, a friend who brought her ass in my house. And whoa, because I was supposed to be doing the Airbnb thing in the basement so we could have someone to come back to. She was gonna, you know, another narcissist, I realized, had me thinking her man was beating on her, spit me a whole story. I come back in Eagles Landing in Georgia with my house looking like a trap house. My neighbor's like, who the hell and what's going on in your house and why? And because I didn't go back to Hawaii right away and I was trying to fix the house up in the basement to finish it, I was seeing all of these people that use in my house like a rooming house. And this one makes it so messed up, Jermanie. I made you and those children leave that house because you couldn't financially afford to maintain it.
yeah, and I kept it clean and everything.
I would have been better off leaving you there
What?
and figuring out a whole nother.
You did it out, right?
I should have had you Airbnb in the freaking rooms, girl.
Yeah, because I had a few people that needed it. You know what I mean? I had told my mom about it. I was like, you know, they had the money ready to move. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I heard about it, and I was like, she
And,
was just
and, and
like,
you know,
no, we have our own things going.
yeah, in the midst of it, you know, and when you're in that much duress, I was under so much stress and I'm flying back and forth. I got a job. These people looking at me like, why you keep going back and forth? And I'm dealing with my house. And so it took what, 10 months, 11 months of going back and forth. So finally, of course, the tenant doesn't pay, doesn't do what she needs to do. I come back, file the eviction on the second tenant, get the eviction in magistrate court. And this is for people who don't realize Atlanta, Georgia, Henry County, that's some heat of the night shit going on over there, okay? It was like a Lifetime movie. People wouldn't even believe that I had a restraining order put against me about my own house. The judge locked me up about my own house.
Mm. Yep.
So by the time we go back to court, for me to get I got the first eviction in magistrate court. She appealed and went to superior court and got it overturned. At this time, we don't have Hawaii no more. We ain't got no place to stay in Hawaii no more because we don't have to give that up. I couldn't maintain it. We come back. I go to court. The judge puts me on restriction to even go back to my own property. So me and my 2 dogs, your mama was over here in California, supposedly for a couple of days to get taxes done, right? I'm in Georgia trying to handle this situation. And I find myself having to find somewhere to live. So Sonny just got hired on at the airport, got a new job working for the airlines. I can't not lose my job, even if it was part-time. So what do? I go all the way to Macon, Middle Georgia and find an office where this man didn't give me no flake. He rented me immediately 24-hour access, and me and my dog slept in a 10 by 12 office room. And when I told your mother that the courts turned around our eviction and put a restraining order against me, she said, I ain't coming back there. And she stayed right here in California, over invited herself on our friend here to the degree you in a rental car for 3 days that you keep for what, 6 days? I mean, excuse me, for 6, 7 weeks, run up a $4,000 credit card bill that you don't have. You only took the car back because they told you they're gonna lock you up if you don't bring it back.
Yeah.
And literally, me and those dogs was in that suite for 5 months, 6 months. I think she came back after like 3 months. But every day you out here in California posting pictures of the winery and flowers and drinking coffee, and you literally was sitting in your car watching Netflix every day. And our friends are looking like, when is she leaving? When is she going home? Or what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And they offer you to pay rent for the room. You don't even do that. You just start sleeping in the car in front of their house. Just stupid shit.
Yeah.
Oh, and let's not fail forget, you all in everybody inbox on Facebook asking for money.
Yeah.
Well, I look as a spouse. You were one of them. And what you doing? And let's even go here. Jermaine, another apology I owe you. Anybody that knows us has seen how much traveling and stuff, and of course, I work for the airlines. I had the flight benefit, but still, how do you be flying around and you know your children and your grandchildren in the street?
Yeah.
Our friends sending your daughter and grandchildren Christmas gifts, money. Hell, let's go here. My coworkers don't even know this girl. When I literally finally fought to get my house back and to put in, the lease expired. That's how I got the lady out and turned off the lights. And a month later, I lose my house. And so literally I had a lawsuit against the court, the Henry County Superior Court. I had a lawsuit against my mortgage company because of the way that the foreclosure and the paperwork and the title was handled. Too active. And that judge went against his own ruling and did an illegal eviction. I come home to all my shit outside after 12 years of owning this house that your mother used to talk about all the time that she hated. Mm-hmm. And to have that happen and fight for 5 months, and then the summer of 19, I got locked up because the mortgage company put a trespassing warrant against the illegal eviction that they did and actually locked me up. And your mother encouraged me to go to get my fingerprints done for my real estate license at the time. And she told me, she said, I knew that I wanted you to go. I didn't want them to come find you. So I wanted you to go to the courthouse. Me not thinking that the warrant was even going to happen. And the warrant was there and they locked me up. And after I got out, I just finally, German, I couldn't do no, I couldn't hold on no more. I couldn't do nothing no more. I was depleted. I called them insurance, the mortgage company, and told them I'm just gonna get all my stuff out of the house. Even the lady that helped, that put the warranty and came and helped us move my stuff out that house. And it's funny, the first episode of Dated Like a Dyke, and it's so funny, and just to even be able to say this, and I look at that video and I look at the essence of it, and I'm like, U-Haul, and this is very true what I put there. But to know that U-Haul was where I spent a week at after I moved all my stuff out. I slept in that van in front of my house because we had nowhere to go. And to the friend out here said, y'all come out of the street and come over here and regroup. And that's how I got to California. So to get to this point of, being a realtor with a homeless realtor, having a house, being homeless with a house for years with your mother, all over the place. I look at, and I've prayed for you and your brothers because I can only imagine how life has been for you guys living like that for 30, 40 years. Your brother's almost 40, you 37, brother. And I think even your brother, younger brother now, like you said, is starting to realize, yo, what does he come to?
He's like, I'm really starting to realize that mom's really a narcissist, and I am too. Like he said, I have a lot of narcissistic ways, being around mom so much because he's more so like,
Yeah.
my mother than me and my oldest brother. But yeah, I mean, he's really gotten to the point where he's like, enough is enough. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be perceived like this. I don't like the way she's made us feel. You know what I mean? And he had it bad too. Like he had it really bad. You know what I mean? At 18, being put out in Chicago streets in the wintertime and not being able to get a jacket or food or whatever the case may be. And I'm having to sneak and feed him. You know what I mean? It just was not
It ain't
a,
cool because
a good a
we
good
didn't the situation. Even for me, coming out here to California, it took me 4 months to get my job to transfer. So I would literally be here. I flew our dogs out here with our friend, and I would fly back to Atlanta for 3 days for work. And I literally would get off the plane, go clock in my uniform, work my shift, go in the bathroom, change my clothes. And I would go to the international terminal and look like a passenger and sleep there till the next day. And then change back in my uniform and work for 2 days straight and fly back here to try to figure it out. Driving Uber, working whatever I could do, working my job, doing my business, out here without a real network of people because I'm still trying to establish myself. Then COVID hits, and I think the midst of COVID gave me time to get still, and I couldn't run from the obvious anymore. And I think a couple of things that happened, watching her manipulate a friend of ours when her birthday happened here. And we had people that flew in town, and a friend of ours was like, you know what, I want to do a cruise on the Sunday. And I watch her Zelle your mom $1,000 for this boat. And this whole birthday event was happening with connection. She baited our broker, our real estate broker. I actually helped her get her real estate license when I got mine out here. And she convinced the real estate broker to do this networking event so that she could throw her party for her birthday. And what happens 2 weeks after we put this event in the works, my broker's entire family came down with COVID. Her all her kids. She went to visit her mom the weekend that she wasn't feeling well against her own thoughts. And unfortunately, her mother caught COVID. So the broker and her mother both end up being hospitalized, deathly hospitalized. Our broker gets intubated. She was scared, and her mother was so frightened she wouldn't do it. So her mother physically dies while she's in a coma. So we're in our place working on this event. And before our broker was put into, this intubated state, your mom's on Facebook talking about this event and how we're trying to I do our best, pray for our broker and her family because they came down and sick. And so she's sitting there with this tube in her mouth or whatever she, breathing, she's on oxygen. And she's feeling bad that her family can't pull the weight of what this event was supposed to be with the two of us. And she zells your mom $400 or $500 for the liquor. And I watch your mother with her and the friend. She took this money and she said, Sonny, it's my birthday. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And took that money from them. And then misappropriatedly used it for something else. And when the friend that sent that $1,000 flew here from Georgia, got here, she's all excited, looking forward to the party was that Friday or Saturday, and the boat thing was supposed to happen that Sunday. I couldn't even find the words. And I said, I am not covering, I'm not protecting you no more. I'm not working double-sided to make shit not look as bad as it is. Because that's the other part. That's the bad part that I played. And you and your brother said that I was the worst enabler. I was with her. But when she took that child's money and I had to watch, my friend kept saying, when we gonna go on the boat? When we go on the boat? When we gonna go on the boat? And I refused to explain that to her. And I watch your mother tell her, oh yeah, they overbooked the boat. But when he sends me the money, I get it back to you. And you lied to her. And then for you to take advantage of a woman who was fighting for her life, our broker almost died. She came out of that coma 3 months and had to learn how to walk, talk, and do everything again. This, I know y'all stories are way worse, but I just know that, I feel like, it's been hard being judged, being misjudged, because a lot of these people don't really know me. They think they do. Just like you. Like Jermanie, it's been some days I have literally cried that I have been a part of such ill-mannered behavior as it pertains to you and your babies on different occasions because of me being in my feelings about your mother and my attitude fighting with her. And it wasn't fair to you all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I feel like there was this article I saw last year about this woman who was so narcissistically out there that she literally had all these people believing. She was an actual successful broadcast journalist for a number of years. She divorced her husband and she just lost her wit. And she literally gave her alma mater a $2 million check for an endowment. The school puts this huge event on. The night of the event, they came and pulled her to the side and said, yo, your check didn't clear. This woman was living in a parking garage and had everybody fooled that she was a millionaire. It got so bad, her family they tried to intervene with her and they couldn't really control her. And finally, somebody that was a friend, they convinced a family member to tell her that they were going to let her house sit this apartment that they had, but the family had actually rented it just to get her away from other people. You know what I'm saying? To try to protect the public from her.
Right.
I feel like in this situation that me and the 8, 9 other ex-husbands, ex-wives behind me, and the ones in front of me, that if somebody would stop this in my tracks, I wouldn't have endured what I endured.
Right. Hold on one second.
Moments like these.
Sorry. But yeah, we might have to do part two.
I mean, we're gonna wrap this because we've been on here for a minute, and I was just gonna say that I think it was super important that one, you have a vindicated moment.
Right.
Because for 37 years, you have not been given that opportunity. And I wanted to do 2 things real quick, and we're gonna wrap.
Okay.
I want to play your song.
Okay.
That's amazing. And then 2, I want you to put your Cash App, because this is my thing that I'm going to say in the public right now, is that this young lady that sits here on this call with me today, by all right, I wish you nothing but utter success for your business, for your bartender business. You're over there hustling, selling food, candy. You can actually, can you scan your setup a little bit?
So we are officially in business. I make drinks. We have the cocktails. Some 2024 candy lady in effect.
Yes, I told you get the brown paper bag so you can put your candy.
Right.
Official, and you got to get the big pickles. I told you got to get the big pickles.
Right.
But I want to share your Cash App because I want anyone that feels so much in their heart at all to support you, to support your business, to support your ability to stand, your ability to, stand in your own right of who you are unapologetically and still persevere, considering, all of the obstacles that you have been unwillingly given that has just manifested into your adult life. But I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you shifting, and I'm proud of you fighting to get that bartender's license and getting, that's something I know for a long time you wanted to get you out of that situation, and you finally did it. And it took you to break away from the toxicity to do it.
Right.
Can you tell us your Cash App?
My Cash App is 82 Bossman, BOSSMAN. The name is Trey on it. It is my Cash App. I get all the money directly. And that's it.
And what's the name of your company?
Oh, my company's name is called Tasty Pleasures, LLC, and all of my drinks have sexually explicit names. We're very fun about it. And we also do mocktails, which are called tasty versions. So we do cater to people that don't drink and people that drink. And most of my drinks are daiquiris, but of course, like I said, I'm a licensed bartender, so I mix up all type of good little goodies.
You're in the Metro Atlanta area.
Yeah.
Don't disclose your exact location, but you're in Metro Atlanta on the east side of it, the east perimeters.
East Coast.
Yes. So I'm gonna play your song, and this is gonna be our wrap. And this song you sent me today, as soon as it played, girl, it moved me. And I'm so proud of you. I know you worked on this song for maybe a year or so, like that.
Yeah, for about a year. I mean, it's still. I wanted it to sound a little bit more authentic and me instead of so crisp. Because I know a lot of people are like, "Oh man, you should have edited to make it sound like so." I didn't. I want it to be more real for people.
Right.
I needed it to connect with people instead of being more of a. Because I'm naturally on myself. I'm trying to be a perfectionist, and I know it's not going to be perfect ever.
So can't help it. That's all.
The message is that we are really embracing us as people, ourselves, and being able to push forward and encourage ourselves and create our own happiness. And that's basically what I've had to try to do for myself. I made this affirmation basically really for me, but I knew that it would be something of a bigger, scale of, other people being encouraged and knowing that, it's okay to be you, good or bad.
Yes.
And we all make mistakes, we all forgive. I'm never gonna forget, but I can forgive and I can move on with love, you know what I mean? So hopefully people are encouraged by the song. And change. Okay.
So guys, this is Faith, and her song is called I Am Me. And y'all support this young lady, man.
I know life gets rough, and all we want to do is give up. But there's no more giving up, and there's no more making excuses for ourselves. Lift your head up and continue to walk in your greatest destiny, because now you're walking into your I am me era.
I am me, just me. You got this. I am me. fall. No, I am strong. I stand tall. I am loved when you know. I'm here for you to find me. The more I focus my mind upon the good, the more good comes in my life. You got this. Through the power of my thoughts and my words, incredible transformations are happening. I am allowed to enjoy the moment without worrying about what's next or whether something will go wrong. I am aware that the strength and the knowledge I've gained from my experiences can help others gain their strength as well. I am right where I need to be. Never gonna fall. Never gonna fall. No, no. I am right where I need to be. Never gonna fall. Never gonna fall. No, no. I believe in myself, and I refuse to give up on myself. I love the sound of my feet walking away from whatever no longer suits me. I rise above stress that is trying to weigh me down. I am going through a difficult time, but I am coming out stronger and better than before. My energy is too precious to waste on stress, anxiety, and overthinking. Instead of holding on to what I could have done, I am taking action to what I can do now. I am right where I need to be. Never gonna fall. Never gonna fall. No, no. I am right where I need to be. Never gonna fall. Never gonna fall. No, no. Be encouraged and keep striving to be great. Because you are. You are. You are. You are. You are. You are. You are.
Thank you.
Amazing. And you are wonderful. And you are, I'm so proud of you because you are not what has been going on with you. You're not that. You know that, right?
Yeah,
You're
could have been
perfect.
worse.
Honey, that's right. We're still here to be able to do something. So I appreciate your time, your transparency, your honesty, and I wanted this for us.
Right.
So I'm grateful that we've had this time, honey, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate for allowing me to come on and speak my truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Next step is the book and the movie, you know?
I'm here for it. Popcorn ready.
Okay.
I want you to have a wonderful night.
All right,
Make
you too.
money.
Thank you.
Look,
I
I'll
will.
listen to your night. I'll make some money, honey.
I know. Bye. All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I hope that some significant healing happens beyond this space. Y'all be blessed. Hey guys, I just wanted to make this quick video as you guys have just saw this in the studio conversation, which is only a snippet of the inspiration behind my new comedy series, the relationship comedy series, Dating Like a Dyke, which is now streaming on YouTube, my YouTube channel, LouddMouth TV. I wanted to also impart one more thing here. I hope that this message can truly help others just as much as it aided Faith and I in reconciling with one another. You just bore witness to both of us having accountability of our own past experiences and taking the necessary steps to repair the damage that has been done between us for one toxic common connection. As we are both individually working through our own personal traumas from our own encounters of various narcissistic relationships, we hope that our stories can inspire others to heal. So I invite you to share this content in this episode, as well as to tune in to my comedy series, Dating Like a Dyke, on LouddMouth TV. And as of this date, currently, I have 3 of those episodes up for season 1. And I look forward to you subscribing to this channel and looking forward to the additional episodes that will be uploaded in the future. I pray that you're blessed. I pray that you're well. And we pray that this content and this message becomes clear and can be helpful to you all. Thank you. God, I can't sleep like this. You see, this is precisely how you ended up on the journey that you're on. You weren't paying attention to the signs. And clearly, there were signs.